Shazam, Fury of the Gods. What do we think of this? What do we think of this then?
I mean, definitely not breaking any new ground with this movie, but overall, I think it was fun. It had all your kind of basic structures of a movie like this, and I found myself having fun with it. Um, they try to pack a lot in there, so I don't think we get enough time with things that those things do deserve. But I like that we got more of things that we didn't, we were only kind of scratching the surface of in the last movie, and we get more time with those things here. So I appreciate getting even just a little bit more time with certain things and certain characters. Um, but I mean, overall, I had a good time. I enjoyed myself. I found it more enjoyable to watch than something like a Thor: Love and Thunder or even Ant Man and the Wasp. So
I was going to I was going to compare. I think those two are fairly obvious movies to compare it to, but I
yeah,
think correct movies to compare it to. Because what I actually think Fury of the Gods does really, really well is feel quite dynamic. It feels like there's a lot of movement. I
yeah,
don't know if it's the way it's made. I don't know if it's kind of David F. Sandberg is a good director.
yeah,
He did well with the first Shazam. He's done well in his other movies. The first Shazam, I think, was more. I think it spoke to a more emotional element of kind of foster kids becoming something they perhaps never thought they would because they've been rejected and all this business beaten
yes.
down. And there's a lot of hope in that first Shazam movie.
And
This
creating a
one,
family, in a place you
yeah,
wouldn't expect to, or allowing yourself to be accepted by a new family, and that whole kind of aspect of, family does not have to be a blood relation to be your family types,
yeah.
type themes in there. So those were great.
That was the great thing about that first Shazam, while being a fairly typically structured superhero movie with okay, relatively unique humor, because I don't think other funny superhero movies have quite this style of humor, really. I think a lot of, for example, the Guardians of the Galaxy style humor, it's more kind of sarcastic, it's a little bit wittier than this is just kind of
A little
stupid
raunchy.
humor a lot of the
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
It's kind of immature humor. It doesn't always work.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably one of my biggest gripes is that um Zachary Levi is still very much playing like Shazam, Billy Batson as like very childlike and immature. Whereas
Yeah,
like a whole plot point is Billy's like about to turn 18. So I don't think Billy
he should
himself, and
be
even the
12
moments we do see Billy is acts like that, very immature and goofy and silly like that. So the correlation between Zachary Levi's performance and, the kid he's meant to be portraying is not really melding. I will say, Zachary Levi is very charming as the character and I enjoy him as the character, but the
Yeah,
things he's doing and being very immature and kind of dumb, which is making him very kind of goofy and dumb, does not feel like where this kid would be at almost 18, you know?
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I found some of the humor here genuinely quite funny. I thought some of it did land. I thought really some of it unfortunately just didn't land for
Yeah.
me. Which is a shame when you are billed as a humorous superhero
Yeah.
movie. You're kind of supposed to be entirely funny. What I really did like about it, though, is like what I've said before. I felt it was a really interestingly made movie, interesting visual movie. Let's compare it to a Thor: Love and Thunder and an Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Particularly Thor: Love and Thunder, because Thor: Love and Thunder is dealing with gods and mythology, and this movie is very much dealing with gods and mythology, like way more than the first movie did. And the
Yeah.
first movie was, yes, there's magic, yes, there's wizards, but this is like Greek god situation
Yeah.
that we're dealing with here. And I thought that the Greek god element, the godly deity element of Fury of the Gods, was handled was visually way better, handled way better, treated with more fun respect than Thor: Love and Thunder was.
Yes, you have these 3
Way more.
sisters, who are gods and, they're all kind of in conflict with each other. So, I liked getting to kind of sit in that world and yeah, definitely more respect to, uh, the characterization of these gods as opposed to something like what Thor was doing.
But even, I mean, we're getting into a few spoilers here
Yes, we will
um,
be.
in this review. But even, when Lucy Liu plants that tree in the Phillies baseball
Yeah,
stadium, and all the mythical creatures come
creatures
out
come
of these
out, yeah.
globular things, like they looked really good.
Well,
The
yeah, I think that
visual
speaks
does
to
look
his,
really good.
I think that speaks to his kind of the director's horror, background and horror ideas really playing into just kind of the scariness of these creatures.
Yeah,
So I definitely liked that we got a moment in here for him to kind of play in a horror aspect a little bit, since that's kind of
yeah.
what he's done in the past.
And those harpies and the cyclops,
Hmm.
minotaurs, you get
Oh
griffins, you
yeah.
get the unicorns are a standout because the kind of the entire Shazam family ends up all riding these dark unicorns to
Yeah.
save the day, feeding them Skittles. How much
Skittles.
did Skittles pay this movie for this
Yes.
product placement?
It
It was
was like
outstanding.
yes, it was definitely a Skittles sponsored movie, it had
I
to
mean, for
be.
God's
Um,
sake, Darla says, "Taste
"Taste
the
the
rainbow."
rainbow twice," she says it.
It's kind
Um,
of charming though. Why not have very obvious Skittles product placement
right?
in this kind of movie? I didn't mind that at all, but I did love these mythical creatures in this big final kind of battle sequence. I
Yeah.
really, really did. Not only the kind of genuine terror you got from a lot of them because they're really scary to look at, but they've the CG of them, the effects of them felt so much better than what we've seen, I think, in recent Marvel movies.
Yeah,
That
I mean, quite a
I
bit of
think
the
the
effects, I
effects
will say.
generally, to
I mean,
me, felt better. It felt like a cleaner looking movie. It didn't feel like a fakey movie. There's a lot of times in Fury of the Gods we're in a godly realm, a mythical place, the rock of eternity with all these doors flying all over the place.
yeah, it's our little Harry
There's a lot of
Potter room.
there is a Harry Potter. I got excited. There was
I
books
was
flying
waiting for a
around.
I was waiting for a Harry Potter joke, and they didn't make one.
They didn't. I mean, it's
They
Warner Brothers. Why not?
yeah, they referenced Fast and the Furious, but not Harry Potter.
Strange, really.
Yeah.
But no, those books flying around all the place. The pen,
Mhm.
Steve the pen
Steve.
that wrote on its own. That's
Yes.
very Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Where's the jokes? Where's the jokes?
Yes.
But no, we're dealing with all that kind of stuff, and the visual effects to me felt so much better than what I've seen in other recent superhero movies. Even Black Adam, which is DC as well. Like the effects here
Yeah.
felt way better than the effects in Black Adam.
Yes, I mean, there were scenes I felt like didn't look as great, and I think it was really saving the best kind of bits of CGI for the finale that had a
Possibly,
lot all over the place. So I did see some moments that didn't look great to me, but I think putting it where kind of it counted the most, where you're going to be dealing with the most kind of CGI stuff, I think of course, makes sense. But
the
yeah,
big
overall,
dragon
I could. Yes,
flying around.
overall, I definitely think a lot of that looked better than other things we've seen in the superhero genre of recent time. So, yeah, um, I did like those kinds of set pieces in there for sure.
I was I was expecting to come out of this movie going, I didn't feel anything because where's it going? It's not going anywhere. We know it's not
And I
really
mean,
going anywhere.
we had some two kind of big. Guess this is very much the these scenes now in things like we've got at the end of Black Adam and now this, it definitely feels like and I think probably what we're gonna get in The Flash with Ben Affleck,
Yeah,
it's
let's just
very much, let's give these characters a final moment, and I don't
kind
know
of,
now.
yeah.
Yes, and is it like, was it meant to feel that way, or is it just feeling that way because we know what's happening? Because like, was that originally the plan for those scenes? Because we
Who
get a
knows?
very similar scene to what happened at the end of Black Adam in this movie. Because yes, as we've now officially kind of gotten to spoilers, we do get Gal Gadot coming in here as Wonder Woman by the end, having a little
I think
moment.
yes, I think it's more. It feels more reasonable to have Gal in this movie than it did, Henry Cavill in at the very end of Black Adam in the post credits, because Gal Gadot didn't fall off this franchise and entirely, did she? Henry
Yeah,
did. Henry was,
yeah,
gone away and brought back for 3 seconds and one line at the end in the end credits of that movie that we all thought might have gone somewhere and ended up never ever
not,
going anywhere.
yeah,
So it feels more reasonable to have Gal Gadot show up in this movie for the little scene she does show up in, and I kind of liked it because we see him on this date with Wonder Woman earlier on in the movie in his dream.
yeah.
And Billy Batson seems obsessed with Wonder Woman.
Yes, and we don't see her face. I'm like, are they going to do a Superman at lunch type
Yeah, we
situation
don't want
again?
that.
Yeah,
I
so I was
thought
kind
that
of getting
too.
like, "Oh, you're really gonna play that again?" Like, that's just because we all know what's going on. Like, that's just gonna look kind of like really. So then when she actually did show up at the end, I thought, okay, this is kind of cool. And also,
Yeah,
while they probably meant it just to be a cool cameo, it really turned into a, well, bye, gal. Thank you for your time,
it
which the
did.
Superman felt like. And I feel like the Batman appearance in Flash is going to be the same thing. So,
Yeah,
I mean, even though these cameos were not meant to kind of be that, I like that we're getting that to kind of really solidify the changing of the guard, and it kind of just plays out perfectly to what the actual kind of news of the future of DC looks like. So I think it's kind of
yeah.
funny.
It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of nice. It's kind of, because these characters and these actors have been pretty universally liked.
Yeah.
Like their movie. Like I don't think anybody really vehemently dislikes Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I think
No, no.
nobody does. She's done a wonderful job as Wonder Woman,
Yes,
and
for
I
sure.
think will for so many people who have grown up with Wonder Woman as Gal Gadot, she will be their Wonder Woman.
Yes.
So there's no reason, there's nothing within me when she showed up at the end of this movie that wasn't just going, "Yeah, this is great. Yay.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so
yes.
happy about this." The
Yeah, it
the
was nice to see
movie
her.
the movie left me having enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I really, really did. I thought, look, yes, okay, there's nothing structurally, story-wise unique here. But I think there is something stylistically quite unique about this movie when we've seen other superhero movies try and be mythological, and not do it in quite this style, not
Yeah.
do it in a way that feels as genuine, and I mean genuine as in has real respect for ancient Greek mythology,
Yeah.
um, and in quite a scary way as well,
Yeah, like
because
I really liked that opening. I thought it was pretty entertaining and pretty scary and um
yeah,
like a cool way to open this movie and set the stage for like what we're dealing with in terms of this villain. So yeah, very formulaic, but I thought it was a cool thing to do, breaking into this museum, having a, kind of showcasing their abilities and then kind of having everybody turn into stone and turn into statues. I think that's kind of a scary thing. So literally a lot of people kind of had brutal deaths in this movie, people getting
kind of
stabbed by
did.
things, people actually getting thrown into things, and so yeah, I feel like we actually saw some a little bit of brutality in this movie, which you don't really expect to see in one of the more um I don't know, kid-friendly feeling superhero movies in the DC universe. Probably the most kind of kid-friendly feeling one. Uh, so yeah, I liked setting up kind of the brutality of our villains and really playing into the Greek god aspects of
Yeah,
those characters.
but it's almost what it's actually what I think these DC movies, as we'll likely refer to it in years to come, the pre-James Gunn DC universe, or whatever
Yeah,
it may be referred to as, what they have been, and I think it'd be wrong to say they have felt unique to one another. And I
yeah,
mean that in a stylistic way. They haven't felt the reason the MCU has been so successful is because a lot of them feel have a very similar tone. Yes, okay, we can veer off to slightly different genres sometimes. Yes, okay, we can have more humor in one movie to the next, but everything does feel part of
very
what.
the same thing. Yeah,
And for better or worse, as popular as populism would have it, probably worse for the DC movies,
yeah,
they have all felt different to one another.
yeah,
They really, really have. Even Shazam from Shazam Fury of the Gods, I think Shazam is a personal kind of family comedy drama with a bit of mysticism, but this is a mythical movie.
yes. We
This is
kind
a
of
movie about
sidelined the family
gods.
aspect. I mean, it's at its core, but it's definitely not as focused on that as the first film was.
Yeah, but it's a dark movie at times while still having its humor in, but it's so very, 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 very different to the Suicide Squad.
Oh yes,
You know what I mean? It's so very, very, very different to Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's even quite different to Black Adam, which is obviously the last thing we did get in this universe,
yeah.
movie-wise.
Um,
But that
uh,
felt historical, and
yeah.
that was a similar thing because it's still Shazam based. I mean, Black Adam is just dark Shazam,
Even though The Rock did not want to appear in this movie because
even
he
though
said
The
it would
Rock was a bit
tarnish
weird.
the name of Black Adam, which okay, but
Yeah, that's weird. I don't
yeah, very
really know
weird.
what he's talking about
Uh,
there.
yes, in terms of kind of the villains, I thought I was enjoying them to a point, and then Lucy Liu became very one note. I think by the end of
Little
it,
bit.
and wasn't really doing much to distinguish herself from your kind of generic villain. But overall, I mean, their motivations I think were clear, and we followed them. I think in a solid way. We got some good fights with them, some good antagonistic moments. Liked seeing them kind of in fight with each other, um,
Yeah.
and
Helen Mirren does
their whole
play a
dynamic.
more
So
Helen Mirren does play a more interesting character than Lucy Liu does, I think,
yeah,
because she at first seems like the leader of
hmm
the three sisters,
yeah. So when that
and
turn
then
happens, yeah,
the turn happens with Lucy Liu where instead of just saving their world, Lucy Liu wants to now enact revenge on Earth or the human realm
yeah,
because of what they did to the,
her
the
world,
god realm.
yeah,
And Helen Mirren's just like, we don't need to do this. Let's just go home. We've got what we need now.
yeah.
Come on. And there's just no. And then Rachel Ziegler in the weirdest three sisters you've ever seen in your entire life. By the way, Helen Mirren in her 70s, Lucy Liu. I want to say Lucy Liu might be late 40s.
Yeah.
And then Rachel Ziegler at 23 or however old Rachel Ziegler is.
Yes, which they do actually have a commentary about that in the movie, like about the age
They
discrepancies
do.
there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I
Humorous,
liked
really.
Yes. So I like that they all kind of have different motivations, which all kind of conflict with each other, which made them a little bit interesting and uh didn't make them wholly kind of one note. So at least there was one kind of feature there with them that made them a little bit more interesting and made them,
Yeah.
stand out a little bit from a typical villain. But by the end, Lucy Liu does kind of become very formulaic and not much different from things we've seen before.
No, I still do think it works though, and it works for
Yeah.
this kind of movie. It's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't
No,
call that a
I don't.
bad thing. It was serviceable for what we needed it to be. It served the purpose for what it needed to be. So,
I
um,
actually think this is a better than average superhero movie. It's not one of the greats. It's
no,
not wonderful, but I think it is
it's
more than
enjoyable.
more than enjoyable. And I felt more interest in this movie than the first Shazam. I'll be honest with you, I did.
Yeah,
I just think they're different movies, and because perhaps
and they have
I'm a
different things
little
to
bit
do. Yeah,
they have different things to do because I'm perhaps a little bit into weirdness and mythology, bringing that kind of craziness into there. And this does have more of David F. Sandberg's horror elements, like you said before, in it
yeah,
than I recall from the first one.
yeah,
I'm more into this movie, and I really like that. I like that I'm more into this movie
yeah.
because, especially when I was going into it thinking, oh, this is going to have to be a movie that we're talking about on the show, so I'm going to have to watch. And I'm now not feeling like it was that. I'm
Like a
feeling
chore
like,
to have to watch it.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
genuinely glad I watched that.
Yes, like, I will say I really did enjoy getting more time with the kids in their Shazam forms. While I would have
Yes,
liked,
absolutely.
and I would have liked to get to know them more, like, on a personal level, but, of kind of who they are, but I think we got a decent amount of that, and I think aside from Zachary Levi and those issues I mentioned, him not really feeling like he's as relational to Billy Batson. I think all of the other kids felt like there was an effort there to make them very much feel like their kid version.
Very
Um,
much so.
and
Very
I
much
loved
so.
that Freddie got so much more kind of time here, and he kind of has his own little arc of, really kind of I think if any character was going to get an ego from this, it would be him who, has been
Yeah.
bullied, who has felt like nothing most of his life. And so now he's imbued with this power where he can kind of really feel confident and that kind of consuming him a little bit. So, I mean,
Yeah.
the things that were happening with his character really made sense. Um,
He has his
and I
romance arc with Rachel Ziegler.
Yes, and the fact that his will is so strong in certain ways when he's being kind of tortured, he can hold out, when this dragon is supposed to kind of make you feel this crippling fear, he's able to fight against
Yeah.
that. So, like, just
Makes
his
some
ent
sort of
hi
Destiny's Child joke, doesn't he, at
yeah.
one point?
Yes. So, kind of his determination in, at his core, he's just very strong, and, the ego isn't everything with him. So, I like that we got moments with him, and he had some of the funnest moments in the movie, the most, comedic moments that landed really well. So, I like that we got more with that character,
His
and him
comedy
kind of
always does
yeah.
land well. I really do. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
that both as his, Shazam form and as just his kid form. It
Yeah.
all everything he's doing always does land well comedically. I also think he's got the most dramatically emotional moments of this movie. It's
Yes.
almost
Yeah.
Freddy the movie rather than,
Then
Billy
Shazam.
Billy
Yes,
Batson.
Billy and Shazam. So I mean, in the moments we did get with the family dynamic, I think worked really well. I mean, I can see and like moments with them kind of being maybe a little bit tired of kind of this life and wanting to do other things or focus on other things, especially the oldest sister. Like she
Yeah.
obviously would want to have a life outside of that because she was ready to go to college and do all these things um and all of that. So where the characters were, I think felt really accurate to that. I liked the moments we did kind of get with the parents and really getting some insight on, Mary giving Billy that insight that he didn't really have on
Yes.
his place in that and him still being very tentative to completely let himself feel like this is a family because, he has these abandonment issues, so I like that he's still kind of grappling with that.
And I
So
like
the
that that's still in this movie because it was obviously a massive part of the first one.
Yes. So it would make sense that he's still dealing with that, even though he's had kind of the security in this time, but he's still gonna kind of feel that fear. So I like that he got that really sweet moment with the mom and like her also
Yeah.
feeling like, everyone says bye mom, and he like doesn't call her mom and she kind of gets, has a little moment of being sad about that. So
And
then when
obviously
we
he does by the end in the big
Yes, but
emotional,
yeah, when
let's
she
hug
does
it out.
wanna just when she wants to see him as Billy, like, she's like, "Show me,
Yeah.
I wanna see my boy, I wanna see my son," and then him like, "I love you, mom," and the tears, and, like, I really got emotional at that moment, so I like that those abandonment issues and those fears are still there, and this family really, really seeing him as a part of them, and him really finally being able to sit with that and feel comfortable with that and feel safe with that. I like that those elements were at least still in there in some way, especially kind of with what all was going on, that we still kind of had time with that, I think was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's just say again, give a shout out to Megan Good trying to play a 10-year-old.
Yes, because she's great. Like I think she's the strongest one in terms of her and Freddie, I think, are the strongest ones in terms of really matching their Shazam character to their child
Yes,
character.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because how she's so peppy all the time,
Yeah, she's so
I don't
cute.
know.
Yeah.
It's strange. Just giving a shout out there again. I don't
Yes,
think
of
he
course.
gets
Hi, Megan. Yes.
hi Megan, as my sign says today. I don't think she doesn't get as much to do as kind of Billy and Freddie and the older sister who I've forgotten the name of.
Mary.
Um Mary. They're the kind of big
Well,
three, and
because
then
I
there's
mean,
the
even in the last
daughters.
film, I want to say Mary's Shazam was played by a different actor as well. But now in this one, I guess Mary's
Yes,
just old enough that she's
that
playing
she's the same.
yeah, she's playing her
Which
Shazam
threw me
self as
off a
well.
little bit.
Yeah, because like in the first one, I was like, I kind of had to look something like, I thought she changed. And she did change. I think she was a different character, maybe because she wasn't old enough, but now that she is old enough, like it
Yeah.
looks like her. I don't know how that works. But yeah. And I like the idea of that, you know, Billy does kind of want to keep them together and work together as a team and a family, but obviously there are moments where they're going to kind of want to branch off and do their own things
Yeah.
and and him just I didn't like again him just being so immature and constantly having to ask Mary to help him figure things out and them really kind of leaning on him not really having the wisdom aspect.
But like
But
you say, this is only when he's Shazam. When
yes,
he's Billy, he actually he doesn't feel like
this
a
dumb kind
goofy,
of immature and goofy.
stupid kid.
Yes. So I mean, the fact that they address it though, that like you don't seem to have this wisdom and you seem to lean on Mary for everything. So I like that they do kind of address it, which saves it a little bit. Um,
I suppose.
yes, and by the end, I think the wizard also, which we have to kind of get into the
Oh
wizard
yes.
and his
Jaimin
characters,
Hansu has so much more to do here, and I
and
love
he's
it.
being very silly and comedic. Like, were you okay with that, or did you find it kind of a little too silly?
No, do you know what I didn't? I I do like what he was doing. He fits the movie. I liked him in the first one, but he's only in a little bit of
Yes.
that
So
first movie.
yes, I mean
And
the
I
tone that we're
suppose
getting into.
he's also in a little bit of Black Adam as well, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Um, because he's the same wizard who gives
Yeah.
all the Shazam powers out, and this is what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he seems to be having an awful lot of fun here, and I
Yeah.
like that
Okay.
because there's clearly power there, but there's clearly also a fondness for the Shazam family that he develops. So
Yeah.
he it makes sense to me that he kind of becomes a little bit more casual and a little
By
bit
the end, yeah.
more funny. By the end, he's dressed like some sort of pimp.
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
got it.
what he was trying
He
to
got a
pull
nice
off
little
there, but he had a
shave.
feather in his hat.
He's very fancy, very fancy.
A, a
Um,
big coat, and he looked like
and
he
I liked
belonged in Superfly.
yes. And I liked that he did, he was the one to give Billy kind of his big motivational speech and remind him why he chose him because, when he first finds out that Billy's kind of the reason that the sisters have come back and all this is
Yeah,
happening, he did kind of tear him down a little bit and say, I shouldn't have chosen you because look how irresponsible you're being and all of this. So
you are a
him kind
waste
of
of
being able to
space.
come, yes, and him being able to come back and actually, say, no, I did make the right decision. I did make the right choice by picking you. I think, made for a very full circle moment and kind of brought some more seriousness back to him after he was kind of silly for most of the movie.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think he does hit that balance well for me. In this
yeah,
movie, for me, he
yeah,
does hit that balance
I
well. You
think
still
so.
feel you feel the seriousness of him as a character because he's obviously ridiculously powerful.
Yes.
But I like that he's able to play along with the humor. I feel like the humor would have failed had, for example, he not understood any of the humor that the Shazam
Well, because
family
of
were
like
kind
the
of
whatever era he's
doing.
from, and he would have just not understood
Yes,
things. Yeah.
it,
Um,
it would have felt like the way Drax has become
yeah.
in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where here he is again, not understanding
Understanding, not getting the
sarcasm.
reference. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's just it's a little bit old now. Move
Yes.
on, and I
Yes.
think
It's
it
either
was
like,
able to
yeah.
develop.
When you have a character who's not of this time, it's like you either don't want to go too far in them like making topical references because then you're like, how do they know about these things? Or going too far on the end of them not understanding anything of this world. So I
Yeah,
like that there was a balance, even with the God sisters as well. They
yeah,
also
definitely.
they also struck the balance of not knowing too much, but not also like knowing everything, and trying to play that for comedy. Um,
I really did think it was balanced really well. I don't think it's. I think it's just changed its spark from the first movie. I think the first movie was really good at depicting what it did depict.
yeah,
Kid in the foster system finding his voice almost.
yeah,
Um, I think this one was a very, very different movie that also hit what it was trying to really, really well.
yeah.
It makes you wish it was carrying on because we get mid and post credit scenes.
Yes, which are related to things that James Gunn is involved in. So, I mean, if they didn't want it to continue, why not just cut those scenes? But then also, so that's what has me thinking like, are you keeping those
Is there
scenes
something?
because is there going to be something more? And Zach Levi has very much been like, I don't know what the future holds for this character. If this movie does
Maybe
well,
he is.
maybe. Because yeah,
Maybe
he
he is
had.
carrying on.
I mean, James Gunn's wife is in this movie, so
That is true.
and I think his name's Steve Agee. They both are kind of Waller people who are all instrumental in the Peacemaker show.
It was
Um,
also produced by Peter Safran.
yes. So I mean, and then we get Mark Strong at the end as well, kind of in the same place we found
Yeah.
him in the last movie. um,
Talking to
s-
that worm creature.
yes. So I mean, it feels like if they really weren't going to do anything with that, would they have kept those scenes in? Of like the
And that's what
Justice
I think.
Society and all of that.
Because they knew at this point,
Yes.
they knew about the takeover
And
a
these are
few
just
months ago
end
now.
scenes that they could have just cut off, right? Easily
Yeah.
just cut out. It wasn't a scene in the movie. Wouldn't have to be edited in kind of the center of the movie. It's literally end credit scenes. So if it wasn't going to
Yeah.
continue, I'm curious to see why, they would have left those in.
And I would be interested to see Shazam actually in the Justice Society and then have some sort of situation where he feels like he's so much better than the Justice Society. What is the Justice Society? I shouldn't be lounging around with Atom Smasher and
Yeah.
Cyclone and
Because I really liked those characters
Dead
as
Peace
well. That
Broken.
was probably my favorite part of Black Adam.
100% it was the best part of Black
Yeah.
Adam. Absolutely it was. Um So yeah, that would be interesting, but obviously
Yes.
make an entire movie about Shazam being in the Justice Society with those people, but
Yes, I would love
wanting the
that.
entire time to just be with Wonder Woman again.
Right? Yeah, like, I
I
wanna
mean, the
go to the
wrong
league.
Justice group.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I mean, having, characters integral to James Gunn's stories in the DC universe, um, is interesting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have them there and really speaks to, "Okay, where is this gonna go?" So,
it
yeah, I
really
mean,
does.
overall, I enjoyed myself. I had fun. Like I said, definitely no new groundbreaking with this movie, very formulaic to the superhero genre, but a fun revisit with these characters, getting a little more time with them, funny. Not everything lands, but still just had a good time with it. And it did make me kind of want to see more. So
I
overall,
would
I
entirely
enjoyed
agree.
Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
As did I. I know a few people have been a little bit disappointed by it, but we have to give our honest opinions, I
Yeah.
think, and I think we're pretty similar there,
Yes.
which is nice. Is
Better than
nice.
some recent superhero fare we've gotten recently. Not
That
perfect by
has
any
accept
means,
you know,
not
those
doing anything
movies.
different, but, for the story that it's telling, I think a serviceable story and a fun watch.
Yeah, and those movies that you've just alluded to are getting people excited because of what's coming after them. So why wouldn't this movie that I think it is actually a better movie, why wouldn't this get you excited for something that would come after, even if we know that nothing's coming after?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it just makes sense to me. It just makes
Yes.
sense to me. But no, I had a lot of fun with it. I felt a lot of smart movie making, a lot of interesting
Yeah.
movie making. Like I said, stylistically very different. Um, and just I think this has always been the case with these DC movies, is that they've been able to feel very unique, for better or worse. Like I said before,
Yes.
they feel so much more different to what the populace thinks of as superhero movie.
Yeah.
Story wise, maybe not, but style wise, yes.
Yeah.
And I think this follows that as well. There's
Yeah.
too much uniqueness in the way this movie's made that it just feels light years away in terms of impressive direction, impressive visual flair than a Quantumania felt. As
Yeah.
much as we enjoyed what went on in that movie, it just was visually, to me, a little bit uninteresting. And this movie
Yeah.
just wasn't. It was very
Yeah.
visually interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
there we go. Shazam Fury of the Gods.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Applause for Shazam Fury of the Gods. I think we have
Yeah.
to say it's hell of a lot better than Black Adam as well, and Dwayne Johnson won't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But I really did
I
prefer
did
this
enjoy it. I
movie.
had fun watching it. So
Yes, interesting, interesting.